All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So good morning and welcome to the Learning Community Call for the Maternal Child Health Adolescent Wellbeing Objective. This is our third of four Learning Community Calls for 2025. Being shared in the chat is the link for our participant survey. So that's a very brief demographic survey for participants. So folks can please complete that as we're getting started here. And we would love to know who is joining us this morning. So folks can please share their name, organization, and county of work in the Menti. So there's a QR code on the screen here. The link is being shared in the chat as well. I'm seeing some folks appear in there. For folks just joining, we're sharing our name, organization, and county of work in Menti. All right, and before we jump in, we have a quick check-in question for folks. Which is, what is your favorite summer treat? So I'll ask folks to share in Menti. And lots of ice cream. Watermelon. Seeing some themes in watermelon, ice cream, and corn. It's very Wisconsin. Folks, just another moment there. All right. We'll move along with a quick introduction of our team. This is the extension team supporting this adolescent well-being work. So I'm Sarah Bolton. I'm the Regional Community Health Team Supervisor for UW-Madison's Division of Extension. So I support statewide technical assistance and capacity building for community health partners, and I work out of our Madison office. And I will pass it over to Pearlie.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Pearlie Wong. Apologize for the background noise. Not sure if you hear it. So I work with Sarah, but I'm based in, I'm serving the Northeast region, the Northeast coordinator, and I'm based in Brown County, Green Bay. Pass it to Sheena.
Hey, everybody. I'm Sheena Cook-Fulsing and also part of the Regional Community Health Team and serving Southwest Wisconsin. Home office is in Vernon County. and passing it off to Selena.
Hi, everyone. My name is Selena Freimark. I'm the Regional Community Health Coordinator for the Northwest region, and I am based in St. Croix County. And I'll pass it over to Taylor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor, and I'm a positive youth development educator based in Dane County. And I'll pass it to Paige.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paige. I'm the Maternal and Child Health Communications Specialist, and I'm based in Madison.
Then a couple members of our team were unable to join us today. So Jen Braun is the Community Engagement and Health Coalition Specialist in Health and Wellbeing. She provides youth engagement subject matter expertise. And then Amber Canto is the Health and Wellbeing Institute Director, who provides high-level administration and support of our maternal child health work. So in our time together today, we will hear updates from the Department of Health Services MCH team, as well as from some other state system partners. We'll invite folks on the call to share any program updates they may have. We'll hear a refresher on 988 and an update on some specific youth-focused resources. Our lovely Taylor will provide an overview of the Youth Engagement Assessment Tool. And lastly, we'll wrap up with next steps and questions. So I encourage folks to use the chat feature or to raise their hand if they have any questions as we go. So before I pass it over to DHS, do we have any questions? Check chat quick. Doesn't look like it. So I will pass it over to Heidi.
Thank you, Sarah, and good morning, everyone. All right, there's a lot going on, so I'll try to hit the highlights for you. First is the reporting. Quarter 2 reports are due tomorrow. If you have not submitted that, please do so. There's been some confusion because the link for quarter 2 through 4 is different than quarter 1. So if you need the link for quarter 2, please let me know and I can get that to you. You can put your name in the chat or reach out to me afterwards. The reason that the link is different is because the report is accumulative. So if you use the link for quarter 1, that doesn't add to what you added already. So make sure you have the right link to do your quarter 2 report. There was a communication that went out last week, and I don't know if all of you have seen it or are aware of it, that quarter 3 reporting is not going to be required this year. There's a lot going on. And so at quarter 3 activities will be captured when you do quarter 4 report. So there will be an email that goes out reminding you about quarter 4 reporting, probably at the end of the year. And those reports are due January 31st. So if there's any questions on reporting, please let me know. I don't know. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next topic. Any questions you have for me can ask at any time here. So this past year, we did the Title V needs assessment, which was statewide, and we appreciate all your help in promoting that and getting input from your communities. This resulted in the 2026 to 2030 Title V State Action Plan, and that outlines the program priorities, objectives, and strategy for each population we serve. That was sent out in a GovD in June, mid-June. And so if you have any questions on the Title V Action Plan, please let me know if you haven't seen it or would like to see it. And as a result of the action plan, we have the new funding opportunities that are open, that are competitive. There's 21 of them, and they're due August 13th. If there's questions about that, they go to an email box, and then they get posted on the frequently asked questions on the website. So if you have any questions on that, we have the link if you're interested in that now. Otherwise, hopefully people are working on that. Agencies are working on that. The main funding for local health departments is a consolidated contract, which is continuing to be formula-based. That hasn't changed. That is not competitive. The process and timeline will be similar to last year. The main difference is that we are not going to be using GAC 4, which is the grants and contract system for negotiation that we used to have to log into and sign off on. That is being done away with this year. The grant and contract website, however, is where we will continue, and other programs will put our resources for negotiations. The agency allocation spreadsheet will be on the GAC site by August 15th. So things are going to start happening for negotiation for 2026 very shortly. In 2026, the MCH program will have 4 options for objectives. It'll be adolescent mental health, perinatal mental health, developmental screening, and infant mortality prevention. So those will be the 4 objectives. As in the past, the supplement will be required, and that's where you get to select your objective, you enter which strategy you're going to work on, as well as local data on why you're choosing that and partners that you're planning to work with. So that's the same as before, and we will also have a MCH open forum, which will walk you through the negotiation process and allow any questions. That'll be this fall, so be looking for a save the date on that before long. Your contract administrator may change for next year, but for negotiations, you work with your current contract administrator. So more to come on 2026 negotiations soon. So if you have any questions, please let me know. The MCH summits, the first one occurred and the recording is available. It was in the last month's newsletter. You may want to watch breakouts that you weren't able to attend or that you had trouble getting into during the summit. So just pointing that out again. And then the second summit will be on October 29th from 11 to 1:30. The summits are required, so if you're not able to attend, there is a recording that you can watch and then complete the evaluation. So just a reminder on that. The main thing is the MCH program parameters highlights the Well Badger resource, and that is our statewide resource repository. And there is a requirement on the parameters that each agency is listed and keeps their information updated in the Well Badger searchable directory. So make sure that has been done. The other parts of the program parameters around Well Badger is to make sure that you're promoting the Well Badger Resource Center using tools for professionals and partners through the following strategies. So if you have print materials such as flyers and posters, to make sure that the Well Badger Resource Center is highlighted. You can include the Well Badger resource number on your agency's voicemail for clients that are outside of business hours. And if you can incorporate the Well Badger Resource Center in social media posts or newsletter messages. So just trying to make sure that the Well Badger resource is being promoted, updated, and useful to your community. And then to wrap up on DHS updates, we are more than halfway through the year. So we encourage you to look at your funding to make sure that you're spending down on your funds and also doing the match that's required. And we appreciate when the GEARS expenditures are coming to us every month. So appreciate that. And if you have any questions on how to do match or questions on spending, please reach out to your contract administrators. And then continue to use UW Extension for any technical assistant needs. They are experts in the work and we appreciate them and their team. And then also Tessa Donaldson and I are available if you have any questions from the MCH program. So I think that's all I have. If there are any questions, I'm available to take them now.
We have a hand raised. Haley.
Hi, Heidi. I just have a quick question about the summit. So the platform that was used to do the summit, my team can't get access to because for whatever reason, our email encryption software keeps blocking it and we can't get through to it. So we can't create an account or register to watch the recordings. Is there a workaround way to be able to get access to those?
I will check with the team and see if there is. I had asked if we had resolved some of the issues. I think the bigger issue had been with the breakout rooms, and that's going to be resolved for this next time. But if you can't even get access to the Learning Horizon,
No, we can't.
that's helpful to know. I don't know if anyone else is having problems with that. You're with WPACA? Okay.
Yeah.
Heidi, hi everyone, it's Sean Meyer. I just wanted to say that I'll put our contacts email in the chat, and you can email our contact from Learning Horizons directly and they can help troubleshoot.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah,
Sure.
go directly to the source and see if we can resolve that. But thanks for letting us know, Haley. We do need to know when you can't get access to it. So appreciate that. And I did see Anna's comment about Burnett County. I'll reach out to you afterwards, Anna, if I see yours or not in my quarter two. Yeah, there will be more information about the whole negotiation process before long. And I think a lot of the questions will be answered then when we have the open forum. So this, like I said, when the save the date comes out, that will be your chance to know the whole process and ask any questions you have on the negotiation. Thanks, Angie.
Great. Thanks for those updates, Heidi. Go ahead and move along. So next I will invite Denise from DPI to share a brief update.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Denise Cahoot. I work with the YRBS coordinator for the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. Casey couldn't join us today, so I'll give a brief update on the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, as well as the school health profiles process. So starting with Youth Risk Behavior Survey, the 2023 reports for counties should all be on the YRBS webpage. In just a second here, I'm going to put a couple of different URLs in the chat. The top one that I just put in the chat is to the page that has the county reports. One piece within that page under the 2023 report header or expandable menu is it talks about if there's not reports available at the high school level or the middle school level, either one, you do have the ability to request those reports through a form that's linked on that page. The reason that we do that is the results may not necessarily be representative of the county based on the size, or excuse me, the number of participants that took the survey, but we can still potentially get you the reports if you meet certain criteria within the county. So just want to make sure all of you knew that that was an option. It's definitely easier than trying to analyze your own data or anything like that. It's just we want to go through this form to make sure that we track when we release these reports if they're not on our website already. The other URL that's listed next is the overall statewide YRBS reports. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review those. I believe we did a launch last August, if I remember correctly, with an actual statewide report. And then in addition, we have a number of other documents listed out there that break out by questions, gives you different statistics based on the statewide representative data. For the 2025 YRBS, thank you all very much for your help in advocating for school districts to participate in the YRBS. We did have a great participation rate. We had more than 690 schools that registered. We had more than 200,000 responses from middle school and high school students. And so that was wonderful. Administration ended in the middle of June. We sent our data off to the CDC. The good news is for the representative sample, we were able to meet our percentage goals. So we should be able to get data back from the CDC that, again, does the statewide analysis in addition to the reports that we do at the school level, the district level, and the county levels. In addition to the statewide participation rates, we also had 2 schools within Wisconsin that also took part in the national survey. So that means that some of the reports and information that CDC puts out will have representation from our state within it, that piece as well. At this point, we don't have timelines for the 2025 data for being released. We did have a meeting earlier this week with the CDC, and they were hoping that if everything goes well on their end, they'd be able to get our data back to us toward the end of this calendar year. So hopefully that means reports would follow shortly after. The other item on the list that I wanted to talk about was school health profiles. Again, there's a link in the chat. If you're not familiar with this, this is a 2-part survey, one that asks administrators from school districts to answer questions, and the other piece asks for teachers to participate. And within that, we're looking at what type of school health policies, procedures, and courses are offered within different schools. So again, a representative sample is selected. We reach out to those specific schools, and then those 2 positions are asked to complete separate surveys without each other being able to see their answers so that hopefully we get the best data we can. Last cycle, which was 2024, we had approximately, well, I should say more than 300 principals and more than 300 teachers that participated in the survey. Those results are on our website at the URL that's in the chat, and you're welcome to look through there. And if you have any questions about anything that you find on our website, just let me know. Otherwise, right now, what we're doing is we are getting ready for the 2026 school health profiles, which we are hoping that will be launched in January through June next year still, following our normal typical cycle for those. I realize I may have talked really quickly, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask now. Otherwise, my email address is also listed in the chat, along with the link to subscribe to YRBS updates as they become available.
Questions for Denise? All right, thank you so much for that update, Denise.
Thanks.
Karen from the Office of Children's Mental Health will share next. And I think Karen has some items to share with us. So I'm going to stop sharing.
So I am going to quickly grab the screen here. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Karen Katz, and I'm with the Office of Children's Mental Health. We are, if you don't know who we are, we're a small office connected to the governor's office. And our thing is making children's mental health better in Wisconsin. And with that comes a commitment to youth voice. And that's why I think I'm here today to talk to you about some recent resources that we just published that are 100% youth voice. So what you're seeing here is a photo of our youth summit that we completed this past April. And this is where we gathered the data that I'm going to talk to you about. So let me quick tell you just a little bit about this summit that we had. It's called Mental Wellness Student Leadership Summit. We have done it 2 years. We'll do it a 3rd year, and then we hope to be able to continue it after that. But this event brings together high schools that have a school-based, peer-led mental wellness program. And there's over 300 of those in Wisconsin. The most common ones you're probably familiar with are NAMI Raise Your Voice, Hope Squad, Sources of Strength, and Red Gen. And so our summit we invite all those high schools to come. In the 2025 summit, we had 47 high schools from across the state. And when we added up all the students that were in each of those high schools, we reach over 40,000 students across the state with the activities and the information that we give at the summit. But I'm here to talk about the data that we gathered at this summit and the resources that we provided. And hopefully some of these will look a little familiar to you. They're pretty much hot off the press the last month or two. So one of the new resources explores youth voice and their healthcare. That was the theme of our summit this year. We asked teens what they want physicians to know when treating them. If you're familiar with PATCH, that stands for Providers and Teens Communicating for Health. It's an organization that advocates for youth voice in the medical field. They conducted this activity with us, so we were in the right hands. And you can see the 5 categories that we explored on the screen here. It's actually called the HEADACE framework, and it's a framework that physicians, clinicians can use when they're meeting with youth to identify risk. And so in this resource, we took all the information that these kids told us and put it into these categories. And we used a do and don't format, which we were really hopeful that clinicians would be able to remember. Because the whole idea is that they will really look at this resource, learn from it, and apply some of the things that youth said when they are in appointments with youth. And so we shared this resource with as many organizations that we could think of that are connected to physicians and clinicians, and encourage wide use of it and people to also share it. So I encourage all of you on this call, if you haven't already downloaded this, to really take a look at it. And I will put all these links in the chat when I am done sharing my screen. So the other 4 resources that we produced as a result of the data we collected from this summit are really focused on youth mental health and those topics. And so in one of these, we asked teens, what are the top things that are stressing them? The information was telling. Nearly 100% of these teens said it's academic pressure is really stressing them. And then you can see the others that they shared. We gave them things to choose from, so it wasn't like just an open-ended question. But you can see achievement culture is right coming in second, and then social media at 75% of the kids reporting that. 73% of the kids said the political divisiveness in our state is stressing them, and climate change came in at 55%, and then about half of the kids identified gun violence and discrimination as being a top stressor for them. We also asked teens what they need to have a strong foundation in mental wellness. And their responses, now these were open-ended questions. Their responses landed in 4 categories: balance, support, we need to talk to people, and safety. And I'll just share a couple of comments that they made. The flyer, if you do go look at it, shares their words and spread over these categories. But one of the kids said, finding a balance between friends, home, school, and work. Now their comment was having people who are there for me and will support me, and then being able to freely talk about my mental health without judgment. We also asked teens, what or who makes you feel connected to your school? So we explore and talk about belonging a lot in our office. And it's important. Belonging is important because a sense of belonging is consistently linked with better mental health. And school belonging in Wisconsin, unfortunately, has had a steady fall over the past 10 years. It's fallen by 37% from 73.7% of students feeling like they belong at their school in 2013 to only 53.6% feeling like they belong in their school in 2023. And those percentages, as you can well imagine, are worse for minority populations and girls. So you can see what teens said makes them feel like they belong at school on the screen. I've identified a number of categories there. And the flyer also shares what teens say is the biggest obstacle to belonging at their school. And they actually provide suggestions on how belonging and culture could improve in their high school. So if you're connected to youth and types of programs in schools, please take a look at this and see what you can glean and apply in the work that you do. And here we asked kids too, they've told us repeatedly over the years that we need to start mental health awareness and education earlier. It can't start in high school. And so we really asked them about starting that conversation in middle school. And so they gave us a lot of great information. You can see a couple of the quotes there. But in this resource, teens also share ideas on how this could be accomplished in middle school. So another great resource for you to check out. I'm not going to go over all these. You are going to get this slide presentation after the meeting, but we just got a ton of resources on our website. And so if you're not familiar with the Office of Children's Mental Health website, I really encourage you to carve out 10 minutes to check it out and look at some of the resources. You more than likely have heard of our feelings thermometer. We got really well known for that during COVID. We also have an early childhood feelings thermometer that's probably about a year old now, but we did a version of that for the very youngest kids. And then we got fact sheets. We tell great stories about innovative programs where things are going well in this state. We talk a lot about the problems, but there's also a lot going right in our state. And then just a couple of other resources there. I also want to invite you to track with us. We're pretty active on social media. You can see all of the places where we are. We have some really great newsletters that I'll call your attention to. We've got our monthly newsletter. I'll put a link to how you can sign up for these newsletters in the chat too. But if you're a researcher or you just like to follow research, our research news is really excellent. Our researcher on our staff does a monthly review of the new research related to children's mental health, and she does a beautiful job of it. So I'd encourage you to sign up for that and then track with what's new in the world of research in children's mental health. So with that, I reset lots of things fast, but I really encourage you to check out the presentation when you get it, and just because there's links to absolutely everything. And unfortunately, I mean, I'll take any comments or questions. I have another meeting that just started 3 minutes ago, so I'm hoping to not be too late for it, but I will put those links in the chat to our flyers and then our newsletter site up.
Thank you so much, Karen. Any questions or comments for Karen before she has to jump?
Okay. Great. Well, I have appreciated this opportunity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And good luck to all of you in your work around young kids in our state.
And before
Yep.
you go, there was one quick question from Angela. Is there resources that can be ordered and shared with the community?
Okay, yeah, our resources, so that's a yes and a no. Most of them are downloadable. You print them, you have permission, or you download them, print them. You have permission to print anything on our website with your local printer. Okay, so that said, we do have a few of our resources, particularly the early childhood feelings thermometer. We've got some of that stuff printed in our office, and I can mail that out. We have some of it available in Spanish with that early childhood feelings thermometer. So I'll put my did I hit send on this? Yeah, I think I did. I'll put my email in the chat before I sign off, and just feel free to contact me directly because I can share more of what we do have printed in our office. Because I'd love to move that stuff if you're interested in what we have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karen. And we've held you over time, so certainly appreciate you being here today.
Okay. I'm having a hard time getting in the chat right now. It's just like stuck for me. So Sarah, you have my email. Could you share that with the group?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. I'm sorry that did you all receive, did my message go in the chat? That
It did not.
So.
Okay, I'm going to keep working on that. I'll turn my video off and won't sign off until I make some progress on that.
While I'm doing that, I'm going to invite any other partners to share. If folks have any updates about their program that they'd like to share with the group. I know Melissa had something that she was going to share.
Well, since you called on me, I'll start us out with the sharing.
Thank you.
I am actually going to be partnering with NTC, North Central Technical College, working with the WASA campus to host a two-part. It's a two-part series called Let's Talk About Youth Mental Health, and it is going to feature individuals that you may recognize the names, including Scott Webb and Dr. Sarah Kolbach, both from Wisconsin based, but then we're also going to be inviting in Dr. Cyan Kim Harris from Boston Children's Hospital, and she's at Harvard Medical School, as well as Dr. Jim Harris, who is with Opportunities Inc. and Marshall University. So we're going to be covering trauma and resilience. We're going to be covering Wired for the Brain, addiction, how it impacts our teenage brains. More Than Sad. Sarah's going to be doing More Than Sad, talking about suicide and mental health. And then Dr. Jim Harris is going to talk about likes, follows, and feels. So teens in the digital world. So it's a great opportunity. Low cost training, up to 8 CEUs will be offered. It'll be in person or online for those that aren't able to travel to WASA. Obviously there's always a benefit to being in person, but recognizing that may be a barrier. And lunch and refreshments are included in that. So I will put information into the chat, and then you'll be able to see the registration page, as well as there's a full program. So you'll see all the write-ups and the learning objectives in that second link. If you can't access Google Drive, let me know and I can get you that PDF directly. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate you kicking us off. I'll invite any other folks who'd like to share. You're welcome to come off mute or share directly in the chat. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to move us along to another Melissa. Welcoming Melissa from the Wisconsin DHS 988 team to share some updates. I'm going to let Melissa go ahead and share her screen.
Okay, let me, well, I have a little preamble first before I share my screen. You guys have gotten so much information today, and I'm going to add to the pile. So I'm trying to keep it really short and sweet in terms of the resources that I have to offer, because it is easy to inundate folks, but the resources that we have will lead you everywhere that you want to go. So to start off, my name is Melissa Butler, and I am a 988 outreach coordinator in the mental health section of the Bureau of Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery. And that is in DCTS, the Department of Care and Treatment Services. So this is where 988 lives. We have had 988 in the state we just celebrated our 3rd birthday. And throughout the country, 988 is comprised of 200 call centers and run by Vibrant. It's a nonprofit that runs our telephony, our telephone lines. And in Wisconsin, we have one call center, which is really the ideal scenario. I've worked with a lot of states, and a lot of states have many different call centers, and that's just harder to manage. So we do have one call center in Wisconsin that is Family Services in Green Bay. They have counselors that are very well trained. When I first started, I took the training for the counselors. It is several days of in-office instruction, and then there is also instruction through UW that they do, and then other instruction is ongoing. So that is just a living program. They're constantly learning and identifying special populations where they can get some additional support to people who phone in. So I think I will just start sharing my screen now. And we will start with SAMHSA. So to begin talking about what resources are available, SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, has put together a 988 partner toolkit. This is also kind of a living effort. So as this is a great place, and actually DHS refers to this website and some of our information. But basically everything that you would want to know about 988 or any resources that you would need would come through here. So I have given my links to Sarah to put into the chat, but I'm just going to go through what is available in this toolkit and then what specific resources we have available in Wisconsin. So this right here, you'll see, learn more about the Suicide Crisis and Lifeline. And I do want to share one thing with you here. We are going to be looking in the partner toolkit here, but you can see that there are many other areas here. There's more information about 988, about what it's going to look like when it finally gets up to full speed and is a part of a more robust crisis system. You've got data. It talks about the Lifeline's history prior to 988. It was the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It was a 10-digit number that was condensed to 988. So it kind of goes a little bit before 988 to talk about the history of Lifeline. But where we're going to be looking today is the partner toolkit. And this takes us back here. So let us go to key messages. So this really is just some background information. Anybody who is interested in learning a little bit more about how 988 works, just in terms of being able to sell it to your constituents or your partners. If you have any questions about that, who calls 988, there really is just a huge wealth of information, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but I did want to point this out. I also wanted to just alert you to the performance metrics. We also have a data dashboard in Wisconsin. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but this is a resource that's available just for if you're trying to get a better picture or you need to pull some statistics, this is available. Oh, sorry. So we also have the Lifeline timeline. That is just another resource for you. We've got FAQs. This also just a wealth of information. And then this is probably the most important or most relative to what we're talking right now, and 988 marketing campaigns and news. So this will be where you will see anything updated about 988, because this is an effort that is long. It's been around. It was preceded by the Lifeline, but it's also new. So we are rolling out new things all the time. For one example, the logo was recently changed. So there are many things happening still as we're trying to prop this, stand this effort up. I also wanted to just draw your attention to 988 Day. That is a day that is upcoming. It may be something that you would like to incorporate in your marketing materials. It's a good way to engage folks. last year, SAMHSA rolled out 988 Day, which is going to be September 8th. Moving forward, we all kind of wondered, I guess that's the best day, but it's our day. 9/8 will be 988 Day. And there are some resources through Wisconsin that I will show for you there as well. And so in the partner toolkit, you'll see a lot of different materials that are available. Some of them are downloadable and customizable. Some of them you can order. So I want to call your attention to the print material that we have available. So these are downloadable files that you can use to put on t-shirts or something like that. We also have, there's some social media here as well, already branded ads. You can also search by the population, and I did want to show you all if you look at population, you'll see that there is a single youth-based advertisement available or promotional material available, and it is a young child. However, I will show you some other resources. So this was the young children branded photography. I'm not going to click on that link because it's going to take me to a zip file. But there are some younger children here. I believe there are some younger people within these populations, but specifically for youth, it is just this one. And then I want to also show you the SAMHSA store where you can get actual swag. And that is right here for the 988 print materials. And here you'll be able to order for free stickers, magnets, posters, wallet cards, pads, note cards, and they do have some other downloadable printable files. These are great. Anybody can order these. They do have limitations on single orders, but you can repeat order. There are stickers in English and Spanish. There is one specific resource I wanted to call out here, which is, there is a youth, here we go. The Suicide and Crisis Lifeline warning signs for youth note cards. These are specific for youth. You can order these. So that is something that you can order through the SAMHSA store. The most popular thing that they have is magnets. That's what we always load up on. Where are they here? These are magnets. This will not be very exciting to anyone here, but to me, they have some new magnets. This is big in my world. We have some new swag. And when I have been doing outreach, I like these the ones that look like a smartphone. Kids like them. But there are posters and just I would load up on, it's free. So let's take advantage of that while we can. So moving on from the toolkit at the SAMHSA level, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we have available at the state level. But I also just want to go over this graphic really quickly. This is what happens when someone calls 988, calls, text, or chat. So it's call, text, or chat 24/7, 365, and someone will always answer the call. Someone will always be there to take the call, whether it is someone from Wisconsin or if it has to be bumped to a national center. 100% of calls are answered. When someone engages 988, they will receive an automated response with options for veterans or Spanish speakers. If you've ever called 988 before, we just did today, and they've shortened that introduction, which is great. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the LGBTQIA line that was eliminated as an option here, but I just want to go through this first. So a person will receive that automated response. They can choose one or two. If they do not choose one of those responses, then they are put in a queue to be answered by somebody in our state. If no one in our state is available to answer, and we do have about a 75 to 80% answer rate in Wisconsin at our center in Green Bay, it will then roll to a national center. So the optimum rate for us that they really want, that feds want us to be at a 90% answer rate. Unfortunately, the number of calls that come in keep increasing, and there's just a lot to try and work out, and that's part of standing up an effort. So I just wanted to go over that with you just quickly. We will start at the top here, and I'll show you what we have. So this is just a little bit more about 988 in Wisconsin, which I'm going to leave to you because you have been inundated with resources today. Here's just the graphic we just went over, some FAQs. You'll see here that this goes to the SAMHSA FAQ that we were just looking at. And now here we come to the promotional tools. This is where everything that we have done resides. We have been well funded up to so far. That landscape is changing a little bit, but we were able to engage a marketing firm, in addition to our own comms department. So we have some professionally designed materials. Here's the logo. It was changed recently. Like I said, it was changed in a really minor way, but this is where you will be able to find the most updated logo. We have some animated online ads, which you can request through DHS DCTS, that mailbox. There are billboards that are available. Also contacting comms for that. We have a few fact sheets and handouts. Again, this would be more for your general edification, although it may be of interest to you regarding why 988 would choose to, or not choose to, but need to involve police. That is a kind of a hot topic. So that may be of interest to you. We've got posters. Some of these are youth posters, as you will see here. And those are available to download. And I think that you can also get crop marked versions of those if you wanted to have them professionally printed. A lot of places customize, a lot of different organizations and outlets customize some 988 swag. I think that there is some coasters out there with 988 promoting 988. We try to just encourage people to get creative with how they promote 988, whatever works for your community. This is the information I was talking about for 988. If you wanted to engage folks on the 988 day, here is the text for a proclamation, if that was something that you were interested in. Radio advertisements, social media posts, static online ads and videos. Again, these are available for you to download, or in some cases, they redirect you to Ask Comms for the files. Here again, refer you back to that original SAMHSA Toolkit. And this is really, I think, probably our most impactful resource that we have because it can be updated locally. So this is a very popular graphic. I imagine that you've seen it. It really speaks to kind of the overarching mission of what we're doing, not just with 988, but by having this push to beef up the crisis continuum so that we can deal with folks in crisis separately from dealing with criminals. So this embraces that whole ethos. It looks at whole person care, 211, 988, 911. What are the differences? This is a super popular graphic, and we did win a Golden Pencil Award for this, our comms team, and that's kind of exciting. But what is really exciting about this resource is not just that it's attractive and easy to use, but we also went through and made it so that it could be customized for every county. So if you had another program that you wanted to promote, 2 programs, 3 programs, 4 programs, and I'll just click on that so you can see what that looks like. But here you have the original visual, and then here you can just click, take it to your county or tribal health department, and then you can put in your program, the contact, the hours, description, and customize it for however you like. So we were seeing some of these out in the wild when we would do our outreach, and so we came up with this template just to make things easier for individuals. And just one more thing, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline Data Dashboard. We've been working with the UW Population Health Institute on several different things regarding 988, many different efforts. One of the things that we did with them was this data dashboard that is updated every month. It usually runs about, I would say, 6 weeks behind. But this is probably most interesting to you for the demographics. And you can see here the youth, who's calling in, what their gender identification is, what their racial or ethnicity breakdown is, and you can toggle between calls answered and texts and chats. I know from having a teenager and from doing this work for a while, texts and chats are enormously popular with the younger population because they can do that privately and no one will hear them. So they could be having a bad day in school and utilize chat, and no one would need to know that they were engaging 988. So that is just a quick rundown of a ton of different resources that, if you're like me, it takes a while to process, and sometimes you don't know what you are looking for until the need arises. So you can be shown everything at the outset, and then not know what you need until you need it. The other thing that I did want to touch on quickly, because I imagine that people will have questions, is the cessation of the LGBTQ plus line transfer that happened at the beginning of the call. So when we were looking at calls, we saw that there right away was an option to transfer to another line. There used to be a connection to, or a prompt for LGBTQIA plus people, youth. It was youth who may be calling to press 3, and then that transferred to the Trevor line. That stopped a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was right after the 3rd anniversary that we had. And that was really unfortunate. However, it's not all bad news. First, the counselors at Family Services who answer calls, I really can't impress how well trained they are. They are First, they must have a BS and have experience working in a social services field. On top of that, then they get intensive training, like I described earlier, that is extensive at the outset and ongoing through their tenure. There are people that are there who can confidently handle an LGBTQIA youth call. No question. Would I say that for every state? No, I would not. There are some folks who have volunteers running their lines. There are some states that have more than one line that are run by different organizations. But I can definitely say that Wisconsin is well trained to answer the LGBTQIA youth calls that come in. The other good news piece of this is that the Trevor Project still exists. It is a robust program, and they have a 24/7, 365 line that you can dial with a 10-digit number. So if that is something that someone really wants to promote, if you feel that it is a resource that you really need to guide your youth to, you can still do that. It was just quicker. That's what part of the attraction of 988 is, that it's a 3-digit number. There was a lot of work to make that happen. And then to have that transfer, of course, was easier. But the Trevor Project is still available there for folks who need it. So I'm going to stop sharing and take any questions. Okay, I guess there aren't any. I'm looking through the chat quickly here. The other thing I would like everyone to invite everyone to do is please contact me. Oh, someone is asking about the Trevor Project. I am not sure. I don't have a definitive answer to that question, but I'm going to say yes, they absolutely do. One of the things that happens on a 988 call is that there are a lot of resources through 211 that are engaged. So they are constantly in the 211 database looking. So I have to assume, but I cannot say with 100% certainty. To your question about the county-specific breakdown of calls, no, unfortunately, there is some information available on the data dashboard, but it is just cumulative calls. They don't have a breakdown anymore granular than that. So you really can just see how many calls have been made. And in that situation, I know that counties always want to see more, and we would love to be able to give you more. In some cases, we're not able to because there may only be 5 people who call in a county. And so we wouldn't want to have a process of elimination that would be able to identify them. But we're also a little bit a victim of our telephony provider, Vibrant, that I was speaking of, because they roll out a lot of our data. So if they change the way that they distribute data, that changes the way that our data dashboard can look. And that is a case. The county-specific breakdown of calls is just, it's not as granular as we know everyone would like, and we would like to be able to offer, but yeah. So thank you so much. I just got to talk about 988 interrupted for like 15 minutes. That's a dream to me. If you have any questions, please reach out, and we are happy to connect you with additional resources, clarify anything, or we'll just come out and do outreach, or we're here for you. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Melissa. Melissa's contact info is in the chat, so folks are encouraged to reach out if additional questions come up. I'm going to reshare my screen here, and Taylor is going to share refresher on the youth engagement assessment tool. So this will be a review for some folks and likely some new information for others. So Taylor, take it away.
All right, thanks everybody. As Sarah said, we're going to be just briefly reviewing this tool, and it's really designed to help your organization, your department reflect on and improve how it meaningfully engages with youth. And so just so I can kind of gauge the room, please put in the chat if you're familiar with this tool or not. It just could be simply a yes, a no, or a maybe, I'm not sure. We know that through this MCH grant process, there have been local tribal health departments who have joined us at different times through the process, or perhaps you have some new staffing. And so this tool really was designed by youth, which we always love to see and uplift. This kind of work is a huge part of what we do at the Positive Youth Development Institute here at UW Extension, which really focuses on building capacity for youth-adult partnerships and advocating for youth to be at the table as co-designers, co-researchers, co-decision makers for the work that you're doing in adolescent health, because we know from research and evidence, right, that when youth participate meaningfully alongside adults in initiatives, policies, or programs, they're more impactful because those users are informing that process in ways that adults simply cannot. So just kind of looking at the chat, it seems like mostly everyone is familiar with this, which is great. So this will be just a nice refresher and a clear overview of kind of a next step that you can bring back to your team if you have not completed this evaluation. Next slide, please. So this tool, again, helps you really assess how your organization engages youth. And when I say organization, it could mean your entire health department as a whole. It could be just your particular office or your particular team, or even just a specific program that you want to focus on. And this assessment really focuses on 5 key areas and how to identify where your organization is strong in these areas and where it can grow. And so there are about 35 statements total, about 5 to 7 questions for each of these priority areas. And when you look at the actual tool itself, you'll see a statement under each priority area, an area for you to circle and rank your organization, and then a little section for notes. And so the rankings, are from 1 to 5, 1 being does not describe your experience within your organization, your office, your team, your program, all the way to 5 saying this very accurately describes my experience. You'll also see that there are spots for not applicable and don't know. And we just want to reiterate that that's okay. You might not know what a particular procedure is or what's going outside of your particular team, and that's okay. We encourage you to not stress about it. This isn't a letter grade or a set in stone reflection of the work that you're doing or not doing. And if you do feel stuck on what a particular indicator or statement means, at the back of this tool, there's an appendix which has tangible examples of these statements and priority areas. Next slide, please. And so here's an example that we'll just kind of go over briefly all of these priorities, but this is organizational readiness. So is your engagement built into your organization's policies, your budget, your staffing, and everyday culture? And so there are 3 questions here. Youth engagement is supported by legislation, policy, and/or practice guidelines. You would rank that based on your particular department, your team, your initiative. You can write comments and notes in the section to the right. Number 2 is a strategic plan for youth engagement has been developed. Number 3, the managers and leaders you work with most closely understand and work youth engagement initiatives. Next slide, please. And so this might look, this is an example of what it might look like. You might say yes, absolutely, right? We, have young people on one of our boards and their participation voting rights are in board policy bylaws, right? That's a great example. That would be a 5 saying, yes, absolutely. The second one might be a 2, right? Or you might be saying well, we engage youth, but it always seems like it's, like something that happens near the end. It's always a scramble. It's something that we think of like an afterthought. It's not necessarily strategic. And number three, you might say, I would say our managers and leaders, I'm not sure if anyone is a youth engagement expert. And so we'll just a little plug for extension. You might say, we don't have an expert in the office. Who do we reach out to? You can reach out to your extension office or this MCH team right here. Next slide, please. And so this second priority area is youth-adult partnerships. So again, assessing, do youth and adults share decision-making and learn from each other within your organization, your office, your team, your project? So these questions here, when working together on projects or initiatives, youth adults set clear roles and responsibilities. When working on projects or initiatives, youth and adults make decisions collaboratively, and through working with adults, youth develop skills and knowledge. Next slide, please. And so it might look something like this, right? You might say, you know what, actually, yeah, we do pretty well as a team. I'm gonna give us a 4, right? Expectations are clear among what youth are doing and contributing to the project, what adults are doing. Number 14, you might say, like, absolutely, youth input has significant to equal weight when making project decisions. And this, again, may vary, right? It may not be totally consistent on every single project, but you're really working to make sure that youth input has that meaningful impact. And then through working with adults, youth develop skills and knowledge. You might put a don't know here, and that's okay, right? Maybe you realize through this process, we also need to be thinking about evaluation. What are youth getting out of this as well? Not just what are our own deliverables or grants that we need to do internally. Next slide, please. And this third one is youth leadership and decision-making. So kind of going back to that last point there, are youth shaping your work, right? Not just participating. So this question number 20 here, right? You will be ranking your organization's ability to, do youth have a leadership role in designing projects and initiatives? Do they have a leadership role in implementing those projects and initiatives? And then are youth involved in developing, reviewing, and updating relevant policies and processes? Next slide, please. Again, it might look something like this, right? We fully don't expect everyone to have 4s and 5s. It can totally vary. You might find consistencies of what you're doing throughout all of these things, and then things where you're like, oh, actually, I hadn't considered that before. So perhaps for, this 20A question, right, you might put yourself at a 3 because maybe not this year, because you were either in the middle of a project or you came in halfway through the project, so they didn't have the ability to design that project or initiative, but you fully intend for them to be a part of that next year. That's perfectly valid. For B, you might say, like, actually, yes, like we do this really well. We have stipends in our budget this year for teen ambassadors. We're really proud of that change. And for number 21, you might say, actually, I have no idea what this could look like. I have no idea what this means. How do youth come to our meetings? What does this even look like? And you can do one of two things, right? Or both. You can look in the back of this tool at the appendix to say, like, what are some examples that youth gave of what this could look like? And then also reach out to us as well, and we can help walk you through of what this could mean and look like. Next slide, please. And then this second to last priority area, youth as evaluators and researchers, right? So are youth involved in not only just being a part of the work, but are they involved in assessing and improving the work for the future? So for these questions, they can range from, youth are asked to evaluate the youth engagement experience. They're collaboratively involved in research and evaluation, designing surveys to implementation, survey administration. Next slide, please. And you might say, like, oh, you know what, actually, I'm going to give us a 3 for this one. Maybe there's an opportunity to implement, a midpoint check-in or debrief sessions with the youth. I know when I work with young people, it is helpful to have a midpoint check-in, because I can evaluate what are things that I can change immediately, right, to make a student's experience better. And then what are things that I'm like, okay, not this year, but I'll take that, and implement that next year. you know, and you might find that for this question 30, you're at a 2. You might be like, I don't know, designing surveys. We have a whole separate team that designs their surveys. I have no control over that. Instead, we kind of want to shift that mindset of, instead of like, I can't do that or I don't do that, to actually, who would I talk to about changing this policy or procedure? What are the ways that we can involve youth in designing surveys? And then same to implementation, survey administration, right? I think sometimes we often hand off our, you know, different parts of our department do different things. Maybe we're not involved with that, but that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities to get youth involved. Next slide, please. And this last priority area is diversity, right? So do youth from a wide range of experiences and identities feel included? And so again, this is your evaluation of your organization, your team, your office, your project. You know, does the organization engage with youth with different perspectives, different skills and abilities, and different demographic characteristics? Next slide, please. And so again, you might say, you know, actually, yeah, we do a really good job of engaging with youth from different perspectives. And that's a really great way to lean on your community partners as well. Or you might say like, yeah, you know what, like actually we're doing pretty well when it comes to different skills and abilities. We let our teams pick what activities they want to do or lead or support. Or you might say, kind of with another 3 for the C question, you know, I'm not really sure. How do we provide equitable opportunities? Who are we not reaching? And again, want to reiterate that your extension team and community partners are great people to lean on to say, hey, how do we reach these particular populations? Because we want to make the most impact of our programs. Next slide, please. So again, you know, it's 35 questions total. It's something that, you know, you can do internally, like individually, or you can, you know, with a particular team that you're working with. And what's really great is that you can use the results here, you know, to bring to, say, our future regional workshops that we do as part of this grant, right? It's a starting block for some of the tangible changes or ideas for the initiatives that you're working on in your communities. And I want to say too that this is not a final grade or a negative reflection of the work you're doing or not doing. This tool is simply to help get the gears going, to really see where there are opportunities for improvement and growth, as well as celebrate successes of what you are doing right. And so be sure to utilize, again, you know, this appendix with this tool. It's called Indicators in Practice. Again, youth giving real world examples, tangible examples of what that particular indicator can look like in practice. And then as well as our Foundations of Youth Engagement Guide, that was another youth design resource done in partnership with Patch, Providers and Teens Communicating for Health and Extension. It's another great tool to use for building that foundation and inspiration for youth engagement. And again, you know, if you find that you have, say, you know, quote unquote, lower levels of a readiness score, it's not negative. It just means you have a great opportunity. And we also want to acknowledge that the degrees of readiness from this assessment completely varies by your team, by your organization, by your capacity, by your staffing, by your funding. And so we want to just say, once again, reiterate that this extension team it's why we're here. We're here to kind of help you muddle through that and come out the other side with something tangible to work towards. Next slide, please. And I want to just end, I'm a big Ted Lasso fan, you know, so for all of this, right, like for everything that I said, for going through the engagement, you might be feeling things like, I don't really know where to begin. This feels like an uphill battle. We have so much work to do. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know where to start. And instead, in the Ted Lasso way, let's be curious, right? So many of the successful programs that I've been a part of started with I'm actually not sure. Let's find out. Or can we try something different? And changing that we haven't done anything like that before kind of mindset instead to, well, let's kind of do some digging and see what's possible. And again, when in doubt, ask youth if that's available to you, or ask this MCH team and we can help get you started. So thank you so much. We, as always, will stick around for any questions, and you can reach out to us directly about this particular tool or anything else that you need in terms of bringing youth engagement to your departments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Taylor. Any immediate questions for Taylor before we wrap up? All right. Seeing none, we'll take these last few minutes to walk through next steps. Thank you everyone for being here today and sticking with us through this jam-packed agenda. Our next regional workshop will be August 28th from noon to 1. We'll be exploring the youth crisis system and how to leverage those partnerships to advance adolescent well-being. Unlike previous workshops, we will all join the same space for a brief presentation before moving into our regional spaces for discussion. Just a really quick refresher on what those regional workshops look like. So these workshops are held quarterly. They're highly participatory peer-to-peer learning spaces. So we want to cultivate space for health department folks doing similar work to really have the opportunity to share with and learn from one another. So we ask that everyone comes prepared to share and learn so that those workshops can really be highly beneficial for everyone. And I did want to invite Mary from Oconto County to share about her experience attending the regional workshops.
Sure, I'll be real quick because I know this was a longer meeting. I enjoy coming to the regional workshops. It's nice to hear what's going on in other parts of the state, especially since we're a smaller health department. So we don't have as many in-person meetings like we did years ago. So it's nice to hear what everybody else has got going on. We're all busy. So how can we kill two birds with one stone? What kind of programming is going to help do that? And I've just found them to be a nice, safe place to have some very honest conversations, especially when we get into our little groups, talking about our different challenges, because maybe there's something I want to work on and somebody over in Barron County did something similar. Okay, what were your roadblocks? So you can kind of tell me what I can anticipate so that when that question comes up, I've got an answer, right? To break down a little bit of a resistance. So I've really enjoyed them. So I highly recommend people give them a chance. So.
Thank you so much, Mary. Really appreciate you sharing your perspective. We would encourage folks to join us. Oftentimes the feedback is that folks would love to learn and hear from more partners from around the state. So please be on the lookout for additional details for that regional workshop. A reminder that the fourth and final learning community call for 2025 will be held Wednesday, October 22nd, the same time, 11:30 to 1. A reminder that that session was moved from October 29th so as not to conflict with the statewide MCH summit. Folks should have that invite on their calendar, but if you have not received it, please reach out to us at Youth Health. That email is in the chat. And our October Learning Community Call will include a presentation from youth leaders on mobilizing youth-led community action in public health spaces. So in our last few minutes here, I'll ask everyone to complete the Learning Community Call Evaluation Survey. QR code is on the screen and the link is in the chat. It's only 5 questions, so it can be done relatively quickly. It's incredibly helpful for us to get feedback on what went well and what could be improved. We use these to plan for future calls and better meet your needs. And if folks are able to complete that while they're on the call today, the completed evaluation does count as your required attendance for the learning community call. So giving folks some time to do that. And again, thank you so much for joining us today for a busy agenda. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Once you've completed the survey, you are welcome to hop off. Our team will stick around if folks have any questions.